you put out a list of all of the military equipment included in that $800 million that's being provided to Ukraine. Among those items, let me read them to you: 100 grenade launchers, 5,000 rifles, 1,000 pistols, 400 machine guns, and 400 shotguns. Are you saying those items are not offensive weapons?
They're weapons that help the Ukrainian people fight against an invasion by a foreign
They
country.
can be used offensively, can they not?
Again, they're weapons. What I'm talking about is weapons that can be used to
The
fight.
answer is yes. I mean, although you don't want to say it, that answer to that question is yes. And so obviously you're trying to make this distinction between offensive.
Well, what we're talking about, let me finish.
Well, let me finish.
Let me finish my answer.
No, you aren't. No, I was finishing a point, and then you can respond to my.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, you're making this distinction between offensive and defensive weapons. Anybody that looks at that list of weapons that I just mentioned, they would say clearly they're offensive. If a Ukrainian military officer or someone who is enlisted has one of these weapons, they can take out a Russian military official of some sort with these weapons. They're offensive in nature. So why not provide more offensive weapons like this to the Ukrainian military?
Well, first of all, we are providing a range of rifles, etc. There is a difference between a plane and planes and massive military systems. I think anybody would recognize this. And what we're talking about, which is giving rifles and pistols to many of them farmers and people living in countrysides to defend themselves. I think there's a difference that most people recognize.
The president said, going back to the long-range air defense systems, that he was working with allies to acquire them. Can you tell us where they are and what the expectation is in terms of the timeline for getting those systems to you?
I can't outline where they are because we're going to keep those conversations private. I would note that a great deal of what we're doing is augmenting the type of effective military assistance that we're doing from the United States and working to prioritize equipment that they are trained on. But we are discussing with a range of partners. When we say Stinger or Javelins, those are brands. There are different kinds of similar assistance or other types of assistance that different allies have around the world.
And I want to go back to the MiGs quickly and just be crystal clear about what you're saying, because when I asked the president about this earlier, he said he's not going to comment. He didn't say that it's not an option. So
well, we've spoken to it approximately 167 times. So maybe
well, here's 168.
Go ahead.
There's a growing number of Republicans and Democrats who are supporting the U.S. striking a deal with Poland to send the MiGs. You have Elise Stefanik earlier today saying Ukraine needs those MiGs. You have Scalise saying getting those MiGs in immediately is critical. There's a growing chorus of voices saying that now is the time. Has the president reconsidered his stance at all at this point?
No, because our military makes assessments, which they put out that assessment last week, and I would just echo that one part of the assessment is based on what equipment is effective in fighting this war, anti-armor and air defense systems. They are effectively defending the country. That is what we have provided additional assistance on. Second, they have several squadrons of mission-capable aircraft.
I don't think that's enough, Jen. You heard President
that are not being, Kristen, that are not being utilized. This is the assessment by our Defense Department. Third, they are also assessing that the transfer to Ukraine may be mistaken as escalatory. So this is how our Defense Department is assessing. They are assessing also that it would not significantly change the effectiveness of the Ukrainian Air Force. And these are the types of risk assessments we certainly understand. We share the passion, the anger, the horror at what we're seeing. And that is why we significantly increase the types of military assistance, the types of equipment that we know is effective, and our Defense Department is determined is effective in fighting this war.